Hey everyone, this is Morgan. Thanks so much for joining. We are going to chat about Prolog Mobile and what you as a PA are able to do to help support your project teams with it. So so the group that was invited was just the PAs. And we're just going to kind of go through the 5 main things that in Prolog Mobile you're able to kind of help your teams with. So just one little housekeeping thing, you're on mute, and so if you have a question, why don't you send me an email during the training, or you can use the chat function. To use the chat function, you can just take your mouse and hover to the top center of your screen. The top center of your screen, and a WebEx toolbar will drop down, and then there's a chat button. So if you click on that chat button, then you can just type away and ask me a question, and I'll get to it kind of throughout the training. Or you can send me an email, or you can wait till the very end, and I'll open up the line for a Q&A session. So those are kind of the 3 different ways you can ask a question throughout the training. All right? So this is the first time I've done this training, so I hope I don't kind of stutter too much. But anyway, we'll just see how it goes. And then, of course, the next one I'm doing is, I think, in a week and a half. It's on a Tuesday. So if anyone in your office wasn't able to make it to today's, just have them join that one if possible. Or you can always get a hold of me in between. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to have Prolog Mobile up so that we can always kind of toggle back and forth between it, so you can see how it's relating to the field teams. And then I'm going to have these instructions up. These are the admin work instructions. And so our agenda is just going to be, we're going to touch on each of these 5 items. And that's kind of it. Okay? So how I got to this page is I typed in Prolog Mobile. So if you are looking for Prolog Mobile stuff, just type it in and you'll get to that Prolog Mobile wiki page. And so this page will continuously be evolving. Now that I have some time and I'm not reacting so much to getting projects and people set up, I have time to actually make some good videos and good work instructions and things like that. So this page will continuously be changing over the next few months. But all I have right here is just a way or some instructions for how to set up external people, which is kind of the last thing on our agenda that we'll talk about, and what you can distribute to them. So anyway, and then this link right here is the work instruction for what it is that we're going to go through. So you can always reference it there if you need to. Okay? All right. So we're going to be looking at a few different websites today. And so remember, the work instructions are here for you to look at. I don't expect you to really remember everything, but just know where to find the work instructions to take it from there. So the 5 things we're going to be chatting about are drawings and submittals and how they get from ProLiance to Prolog Mobile, QA/QC templates, plan view drawings, which are those pinnable drawings that people can like pin RFIs or punch list items on, punch list dependencies, so that would be like the locations for when doing the punch list, and then setting up external users. Okay? All right. Okay, so we will jump in then to the drawings. So again, I'm just going to have kind of a few things up here for you to kind of go back and forth with. So let me just jump into ProLiance, and we'll kind of get that up and rolling. And we'll go into the Prolog Mobile Test Project. Okay, so drawings and submittals. This is a pretty easy process, only because it works mostly around the way that you are already setting up your drawings and submittals in ProLiance. So I'll first show you what the drawings and submittals look like in Prolog Mobile. And so I will click on the File Library, and that's where we have contracts, drawings, and submittals. So every drawing that's uploaded into ProLiance and workflowed to the accepted state is going to be in Prolog Mobile. Okay, so here you can see, if I back up a little bit, they're based on the discipline. So the subfolders are created based on the discipline that you created this document in. So if I toggle here to a drawing document, this is that discipline field that I'm talking about. Okay, so if you have a HVAC drawing, then you'll have an HVAC folder over here. And that just makes it so we set it up so that it's easier for people to be able to find their drawings, and they're not just looking at like 600 drawings. They can look specifically for electrical or architectural or whatever the case may be. Okay? And then they're able to just simply click on it, go into it, and the file will open for them within a matter of seconds depending on how large the file is. Talking about that, if you have combined documents, like if you uploaded all of your architecturals and then you have a combined architectural document and you workflow that to accepted, it'll come over to Prolog Mobile. But it will just be a really large file, obviously. So you'll see here under the size column, these are all under a meg because they're just one PDF. If you have a combined sheet that's 50 megs, it'll be here. Now, I think we actually set a limit, so I think the magic number is 50 megs. So I know someone at Marina Heights was trying to send over like 150 meg combined drawing set, which obviously did not make it to ProLiance or Prolog Mobile, and it would have taken forever for that thing to open. So anyway, just note that if you do a combined set, you certainly can, and it will come over to Prolog Mobile as just one document, and it'll just be a larger PDF. And that if it is over 50 megs, then it will not make its way over there. So anyway, if someone is asking for it, check the file size. Now, let me just click on this again. One thing you will note is that we don't have a ton of real estate on this register view in Prolog Mobile. We have the file name, the title, and then really nothing is entered in this description. So this is my test project, but let me kind of jump back a little bit. So this would be kind of a more typical way that they would be entered. So your file name is going to be what your source or presentation file name is, verbatim. So if you have like a scanned document for whatever reason, and this pertains more so to like submittals and not drawings, it will come over exactly how the file name is written. And then the title is this drawing title field right here. So those are that's the information that's coming over. We are trying to get some control over what this page looks like. So ideally, we would get rid of like the description and the type columns so that we have more real estate to view the file names and titles. But just be aware of, you're kind of limited to that 25 to 30 characters before you start to lose some of that text. And again, it makes a little bit more sense when we're talking about submittals. Drawings, you're usually going to have your sheet name and the description, and whether it goes over 30 characters or not, that's just kind of the way it is. Now, another thing that we've done here is we have some projects who are uploading their spec sections. So let me just jump to a project here and show you that. So in Marina Heights, they've uploaded their spec sections. So if your project team is interested in doing that, this obviously cuts down from them having to always flip through this big, enormous binder in their job site trailer to try and find these specs. And here they're just uploaded as individual PDFs. Now, if your team instead wants to upload them maybe by like division or something, you could do that too. But anyway, this is just something that they found is really valuable to have kind of at your project team's fingertips when walking around the job site. The other thing that we have here is we have this VDC discipline. And so what the VCCs have been doing is uploading their models into ProLiance, workflowing them to accepted, and then the models are now accessible in Prolog Mobile. And in order to open them, the iPad user would just need to have a modeling app on their iPad, but this way they can always have access to the latest and greatest. In lieu of like posting it in ProLiance and putting it in Oxygen to give them access, you can instead just post it all into ProLiance and it'll be available for them in Prolog Mobile. So I guess that's one kind of key thing that I want to talk about is we have Oxygen as a tool, and I know a lot of teams are still using it to put their submittals and their drawings on so that their stubs can gain access to it. And Oxygen was a great tool before we had Prolog Mobile. Now that we have Prolog Mobile, the intent is to reduce that duplicate effort that you guys were doing where you're uploading your drawings and you're posting them in Prolog Mobile. And you're posting them in Oxygen, and you're also managing them in your job folder. We want them to go to ProLiance, and then they will push to Prolog Mobile, and then the need for Oxygen for viewing submittals and drawings is no longer there. Your sub instead will get access to Prolog Mobile instead of Oxygen, and it's one less place where you need to update and maintain. So that's really what we're hoping. I'm hoping that you'll gain from this is that you'll see that this is really reducing the amount of efforts if your project team is still having you use another tool like an FTP site or Oxygen to be able to post your drawings and submittals. Get those subs just like they're in ProLiance, get them into Prolog Mobile, and then they'll be able to have access to everything there without you having to update a bajillion different folders. Okay? All right, so then I'll jump back to submittals. Now, submittals will make their way to Prolog Mobile when they are workflowed to the approved state. There will not be any rejected submittals, no in review, no draft, nothing. They only make their way to Prolog Mobile when they are approved. And so that means that your field teams are only working off approved submittals. Okay? They don't need to be worried about them being rejected or anything like that. So if I were to open up one of these, you'll see here that they have the Brava markups and the stamps and everything on them. And so how the integration works is whether you, typically I would say we always have the original submittal document in the source file, and then the published version is in that presentation file. Prolog Mobile, when it integrates, is going to first look for a presentation file, and if it's not there for whatever reason, it will then look to the source file. Okay? So that's how the information is coming over. It does the same with the drawings, so whether you upload drawings in the source or presentation file, it will find it one way or the other. But we have prioritized the presentation file as the first one only because that's where most of the approved submittals will be. And then that's where you're able to view all of the the stamps and markups that are placed in Brava and things like that. Even if somebody uses Bluebeam and they have all their markups in there and it's uploaded as a presentation file, that information will come over, once it's like published or published into that PDF. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing the value of your field teams being able to have access to their drawings and submittals through Prolog Mobile. Now, the one thing I didn't touch on with drawings is when you use the revisioning piece in ProLiance, only the current drawings will show in Prolog Mobile. So as long as you are using the same name and the same drawing name and title and everything, the file name can change, but as long as that is the same and that's based on you using the uploader, then all of the old ones will drop off of Prolog Mobile and all the new ones will be in Prolog Mobile, and that just kind of happens. We do have a few teams that are doing their drawings a bit differently for whatever reason. They are the file name, they have their date after them, so it'll say like A100 and then today's date, which is different than when they originally got that first drawing a month ago. And so then what's happening is they are having duplicates show up in Prolog Mobile because we have it designed, or we have the system designed to work off our best practice, and our best practice is to have that file name stay the same throughout the duration of the project. But for whatever reason, those project teams wanted to manage their revisions that way. So they are taking extra steps to clean out the duplicate drawings that are in Prolog Mobile. So, all right. So then the last thing, which this project doesn't have, but in my test project it does, is contracts and change orders. And so you may have gotten an email from me last week or 2 weeks ago that talked about pushing any existing contracts and change orders into Prolog Mobile for your teams. And so we turned on this integration like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that email was just to say, hey, every contract that you workflow to executed or change order that you workflow to executed is going to make its way to Prolog Mobile. And so the reminder was just to say, if this is a project that's still going to be going on for a while and you want all of your current contracts and change orders that were in ProLiance prior to when the integration was turned on, it was just to say, hey, if you want to push those, you can, and the email explained how to do that. So if you click on Contracts and Insurance, what it's going to do is it's going to have a folder for each subcontractor. Now the insurance piece is not turned on quite yet, but it will be soon. So for right now, all it's doing is it's pulling over the attachment documents. So Bradley is going to have a folder, and then if they have contracts and change orders, they'll have 2 subfolders. So the contracts folder is going to have, let me close this, the contracts folder is going to pull over the attachments, and you'll see these 2 attachments right here, and that's what's going to be in Prolog Mobile. The change order is also just going to pull over the change order document. So we're not actually pulling like line item information or any real content from the contract and change order documents. We are only pulling the attachments. And that's so your SOUP and PM always has the ability to see the signature page. They can, the SOUP can always check to see if their PM approved of this change order, and so now that sub is doing that scope of work and things like that. So that's what's coming over. So really it's just a reminder to say when you are uploading or attaching those attachments, it might be just make sure that it's not just like a 30-character file name because you scanned it and then uploaded it really quick. Just be more conscious about the file name, because that's what the SOUP and the anybody who's using this on your field team is going to see here. So if you want to have one attachment for your contract that has every single exhibit in that boilerplate contract, you can do it that way. If your team prefers or you prefer to upload each exhibit individually, it's really just a team and personal preference as to how you manage these contracts and change orders. So you can do whatever you want to do. Just know that any attachment is going to make its way into Prolog Mobile. And then, like I said, shortly the insurance information will also come over. We just don't have that set up yet. Okay. All right. So we are kind of done with that. Now, the only thing I will say is right now in the work instruction, I just am really promoting the use of that drawing uploader to get all your drawings into ProLiance and then Prolog Mobile. And right now, the uploader tool, if you were to upload your drawings directly to Accepted, if you were to upload them directly to Accepted, what happens is the integration account is not triggered when that happens through the uploader. So what we have to do is we have to utilize the drawing package, because then when you workflow the package to complete, then that will batch workflow all of the drawings. And so we are working on getting an uploader that will do this automatically, that will trigger the integration for you automatically. But right now, it's just not there yet. So, let me just find my ProLiance here. So what I mean by that is when you upload drawings, it's preferred that you upload them into the draft state. And then you would come in here and create a drawing package. You can just create a new drawing package, and you're going to add your drawings in this drawing tab. You can just click Add Existing, and this will give you a list of all the drawings that are not a part of a package already. So I'll just add a few in here. So the important thing to see here is the workflow status of the drawing is currently in draft. And what I want to do is I want to change all of these to accepted. Now you don't have to do this one by one. What you can do is, let me just quickly enter this information here, just so I can save the document. Okay. All right, so then what you'll do is you can click Save, and you could have 100, 200, 500 documents in here. What you'll do is you'll go to Options, click Accepted, and you'll see it changed all of these to accepted, so change status on completion. And then when you workflow the package to complete, it will workflow each one of these drawings from draft to accepted, and that is what triggers that integration account so that it will integrate to Prolog Mobile. So that's how that process is set up. Okay. Now, if you don't want to create a package because let's say you only uploaded like one revision, like one drawing or something like that, but you still want it to get to Prolog Mobile, you would just workflow it from draft to accepted, or if it was already in the accepted state for whatever reason, you can forward it and you can select the integration account. So if you scroll all the way down, let's see, it's called Prolog. I always just type in Prolog quickly, and it's the Prolog to Proliance, or Proliance to Prolog integration account. You'll workflow or forward it to that integration user, and then it will populate in Prolog. Okay? All right. Okay. I was a bit long-winded there on that drawing piece. So let's move on. Let's see, I have one question here before I go. Subs will not be able to see contracts in Prolog, correct? And that is right. Thanks, Tina. We have it set up so that subs, architects, anyone who's external will not be able to see contracts in Prolog Mobile. They will only be able to see drawings and submittals. So then everybody who's internal, SUPs, BEs, PMs, whoever, will be able to see the contract and insurance piece. So, great question. All right, it looks like we have, okay, never mind. We don't have another question. Okay, all right, let's move on. So that was the first thing here, drawing uploader. The next one is QA/QC templates. So we now in Prolog Mobile have a pretty great way to do QA/QC. I'll minimize that. And so if your project teams would come in here and they would click on a checklist, that's where we have it stored, and they have the option now to do QA/QC checklists. All right, so this is an example of all the checklists that this test project has in them. And let me just show you what one of these looks like. So what it is there's just a, what we've done is we've taken all of the PDF QA/QC documents and we've turned them into Excel spreadsheets. And the reason they're Excel spreadsheets is so they can upload and work with Prolog Mobile. And so let me show you where your SUPs and PMs would get that information from. So if they were to type in QA/QC, we have this QA/QC checklist wiki page. And it says here that these should be used if wanting to use Prolog Mobile for their checklist. So there are like 60 QA/QC templates, and they will just go into each one of these. And we are hoping that they make these project specific. So we want them to be able to go in and modify this checklist so that it means something to their project. Because these are just templates and every project is different. So the SUP and the PM can come in here, they can delete out sections, they can edit sections, they can do whatever they want to with the list, make it their own, or even just create a brand new checklist. But then what happens is this document needs to get uploaded so that they can view the information in Prolog Mobile. And so let me show you how that translates to Prolog Mobile. And so in this checklist, you'll see that all these items are now like a pass-fail. So every line item that's written here on the spreadsheet is now a line item here in Prolog Mobile. And we have different sections. So there's different sections that you can have within the QA/QC thing. And again, this is for demos. This is just my demo one. And then your soup or PE or whoever's doing the QA/QC is just going to come through and do pass, fail, pass, 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 fail. And then they always have the ability to add comments and take photos and things like that. So that's what the experience is like in Prolog Mobile. Now let's talk about how you can get that document into Prolog Mobile Forum. So let me jump back to our work instruction. So again, and on this sheet, if your soup asks you, like, hey, where do I find those templates? I have the wiki link right here. And what you'll do is you'll just go right to this website. And let's see, did I lose my, yeah, I must have. We have the login and the password ready for, for you to enter. And you would click on Prolog Converge. And so let me just get my, let me pull this up and we'll jump back to, right here. Okay. So here we're on our QA/QC and we'll just kind of let this page produce. But here, what you're going to do is you're going to find your job. You're going to go to Checklists and you're going to create a brand new template. And so by creating the template, all you're going to be doing is just uploading that spreadsheet that your superintendent or PM has given you. So I will come in here and I will find our test project and I'll click enter. We'll kind of put these side by side. Then over on the left-hand side, you'll go to Field Administration, Checklists, and Manage Checklists and Create. So now you'll create a brand new checklist, and we'll call this Test Checklist. You're going to select the type as a checklist and the module as QA/QC. Okay? And then all you're going to do is browse for that Excel spreadsheet that they gave you. So I believe I have some on my desktop somewhere, so let me just grab them here. All right, so here's a good one. Here's an a underwater sewer site utilities one. You're going to click the import button, and now everything that's on that spreadsheet, they are now all going to be individual line items here. Just like what we saw in Prolog Mobile, where we have all these individual line items, it's just reading that spreadsheet and dumping those line items into this website for us. And then all you will do is click Publish. And now, once you've published it, the superintendent and PM are able to sync Prolog Mobile, and then they'll be able to see it in their list of templates. And so let me X out of here. So how they get to their list of templates is when they are in the QA/QC checklist and they want to create a brand new one. I clicked on a plus button or a create button, and this is the list now of all their templates. So they have, you know, in my example, I have demo, masonry, roofing, etc. They would now have this brand new one that you gave them access to. Okay? So I always, when I do my training on QA/QC, I always let the soups and PMs know that it's best if they were to send you this information, like if they do 5 QA/QC lists at a time, to have you go in here and just upload all 5 of those at the same time instead of sending one QA/QC spreadsheet at a time. But the great thing about this process is it's pretty minimal. They're going to have a certain number of QA/QC templates, and they'll have you upload them, and you'll never have to go back in and revise them or do really any maintenance on them. They're just always going to be there. And so you'll just get more and more QA/QC templates throughout the duration of the job as the project develops, but it's not something that you need to go in and do all the time. And so that's something else, is that these steps that, you know, that we're going through today, these are not things that you're going to be doing all day, every day. Like you will very rarely use or interface with Prolog Mobile. I mean, the most you're doing with it is really the drawings and submittals, which you don't really do anything in Prolog Mobile with, and then maybe like user setup. But a lot of this stuff, I don't really expect you to be wizards at or experts, because you're just not going to be in it enough. You're in ProLiance, and your field teams are going to be in Prolog Mobile, and so it's just not a tool that you're going to be in all that often. So that's why I really kind of leverage the work instructions to make sure they're as detailed as they can be. So that's it. That's how you will import those QA/QC checklists into Prolog Mobile for your team. Okay? All right, I don't see any questions, so we'll move on to the next one. Let me see here. Since I'm in Prolog Converge right now, I'm just going to stick in this tool, and I'm going to instead just jump to punch list dependencies. Okay, so let's jump to punch list. So again, I'm in Prolog Mobile, and your field teams now have the ability to do punch list items in Prolog Mobile. So this is what the punch list looks like. And then if you were to click on Plan View, they're able to pin their punch list items onto their like a floor layout or a site plan. So this is how your field teams are using Prolog Mobile for their punch. And so I'll show you an example of what a punch list item looks like. I'm going to pin it here. So all they need to do is enter a description, but it gives them the ability to enter location information, who's responsible for correcting the issue, and then it tracks all the different dates for when the item was first found to when a sub went in and corrected it and things like that. So what we're talking about here is how do we get the building, floor, room, direction, and punch list phase lookup fields to populate for them. Now these are going to be blank when you when they first go in here. So before punch list begins, what we recommend is just getting a like a door schedule or a room schedule, and having that available so that you can upload the information into Prolog Mobile and ProLiance. Okay? So when I say like these dependencies like building, floor, room, like these are all the options that they have to pick. For direction, we have like northeast, southwest. And then for punch list phase, we have like just two options, but it could definitely be added depending on your project. So there's punch list, which would be like a more formal punch list. And then there's the Ryan pre-punch, which could be like your deficiency list or something like that. Okay? So in order to populate this information and also have it integrate with ProLiance, we need to have the ProLiance lookups and this lookup all match. Okay? So I'll minimize Prolog Mobile, and I'll go into Prolog Converge, and we're here under Field Admin, and we'll go to Punch List, and we'll just go to, we need to go to the Administrative section, and go to Punch List Maintenance. I'll leave this. Okay. So here we have our 5 different areas. And the 5 areas are building, room, or building, floor, room, direction, and punch list phase. Now, if I open up ProLiance, we will compare that then to their options here. So now under Field Management, we have these 2 new areas. We have punch list and QA/QC. So if you were to just go in to the punch list and just create a new one, what I think would be a great idea, but you could do this 2 different ways, is you have your punch list areas here, or these fields, which match up to these fields right here. So Mary in Austin had to do this for one of her charter schools, and so what we had her do is add the item here, and then copy and paste it and add it into ProLiance, and then you're just creating this whole list right away. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's say for your project, there's just one building. Well, there's no need then to enter, building in this lookup. So you can just leave it blank. For Paragon, it was a bunch of different buildings. It was a big outlet mall, so there were like 7 different buildings. So that's why they utilized that building lookup. But if you have a project that has one building, then you can leave it blank. Area 2 is going to be your floors. So let's say it's a multi-floor level. You can click Edit against Area 2, and then you can come in here to Floors, click on the Pick List button. Now you'll see here in my example I have these 3 areas, or these 3 options, which are exactly the same. But how you add to them over on the Proliant side is you'll click Manage Lookup. And over here on the Prolog side, you're going to just click Add. So let's say I wanted to add a few more levels. So let's say I wanted to call this Floor 1. I wanted to call this Floor 2. You just add them, double-click, and enter Floor 2. Now how I suggested to Mary that she do this is just have both screens open. Then you can come over to the Proliant side, and you can do a quick paste. So copy and paste. Now in this example we had Floor 1. So we come over here to Floor 1. And so the key is that you want to have these lookups be exactly what you have in Proliant. So it's easy just to enter it here, do a copy paste, and enter it here into Proliant, or vice versa. You can do it either way. Now this field is a job specific lookup, so that way you have the ability to modify it. All right, so again, you'll just add more. We'll do Floor 3, do a copy paste, do an add top level on the Proliant side, and then just do a copy paste into both the code and the description and click Save. It doesn't matter what order they fall in. It doesn't matter. It'll just make it there. You just want to make sure that everything is exactly the same, or you could run into an integration problem. When you're done, you click Save and Exit, and when you're done in Proliant, you click Save and Close. Okay? Now, if we need to add rooms, and this is where it's going to be the most time intensive, you would think, because you're going to have more rooms than anything out of these lookups. You'll click Edit for Area 3, click Edit for your rooms, and now this is where you begin to add all your rooms. And you just do the same thing. Add here, which adds a line, click Manage Lookup on the Proliant side, and you'll add a top level. Now, unfortunately, in Mary's case, this was kind of a rush deal, and she had to do it the morning of. So as soon as you have a floor plan for your project that has room numbers in it, you could just be proactive, knowing that if they're on Prolog Mobile, they're likely going to use the punch list function in Prolog Mobile. You could just be proactive and get these values entered in ahead of time, so it's not such a last-minute ordeal. But anyway, so it's just something to think about, because this PM was like, I'm out on site and I'm ready to do punch list. And so there was just some last-minute scrambling to try and get that ready for them. So anyway, so once you have a floor plan or a room schedule or anything, those room numbers aren't really going to be changing all that often. So there's really no, you don't need to worry about it waiting up until that punch list time. Just go ahead and get them entered in, and then they can use it for punch. They may also, your field teams may also want to use it for deficiencies. So they may want this information entered earlier rather than later, so that they can use the locations and things like that for their deficiency list. All right, so it looks like we have a question. Will there be a time when if you add lookups to Proliant, they will automatically integrate to Prolog? That's a really great question, and I'm sure there is a way we could do it. We didn't have that originally written in our integration scope, but it's certainly something that we can bring up with now that we're kind of on to, we're out of our main phase for integrations. So thanks for that recommendation. I know it feels like such a major pain to have to enter it in both places. So anyway, I will see what we can do. There might even be an easy export upload option as well. So I'll see what we can do. But thank you for that. Okay, so I'll just click close here and get out of this. And then the one thing is, let's just check this, is area 4 and area 5 should be pre-populated. So they will be populated with the information, because I think we added them to the templates. So that information should already be there for you. So direction and punch list phase won't really change or need to be modified all that much. So just so you know that. So really it's just room and floor are the lookups that would be modified. Okay, so I'm going to jump out of this, and since we're done with it for right now, and what I want to do is show you how this all comes back into ProLiance, because that's the goal. Everything that's in Prolog Mobile makes its way to ProLiance one way or the other, and that information is now just saved there so that we can always get to it and always report off of it. So for the punch list, you'll see here that I have all these punch list items. And we have a few different views that people can use, but now what we're commonly finding is that the PM will come in here to this view to see their responsible party. They will click export, and this will dump all of the punch list information into a spreadsheet so that they can filter it or email it or print it or do whatever they want to with it, so that they can communicate to their subs that they have punch list items that they are responsible for. Now, some projects are getting their subcontractors into Prolog Mobile, and then what they're able to do as a sub is they can only see the punch list items that are assigned to them. So we have a filter here called My Company Records, and they would only have access to their company's records. Now I'm in as the admin, so I have like access to everything. But what they would do is they would go into their items, and the only things that they're able to edit are the comment section, and then they can update the correction made date, in addition to adding a picture or something like that. So they could take the after picture or something. So they will see all the punch list items that are assigned to them, and everything will be read-only except for comments, correction made, and the ability to add photos. Now, some projects are doing it, like Paragon did it with their subcontractors, and I think it went well. They also had their architects in Prolog Mobile, and their architects were able to add and also close out punch list items. However, some teams are just leveraging the reports out of ProLiance and then just distributing it this way. So just know that there's a few different options to do that. Now, if your project manager wants to get all of the photos that were taken in Prolog Mobile out of ProLiance, instead of going in to each individual one and clicking on the attachments and getting the photo out, what they can instead use is the export app. So if you've never used the export app before, it is a way for you to pull out photos and files and CPLs of different documents in ProLiance. And so Brad used this on one of his charter schools when they did punch lists. And what he did is he just, let me just type in the export app because I just showed it. But it's just this export app. It's going to look just like the drawing uploader almost. You're going to have to log into ProLiance. But what you do is you just select, let me just open these up. All you do is you select your, you select the project, and then you select the document that you want to pull the information out of. So punch list, this would instead be deficiency list. And then all that information is going to dump into a folder, and then all those photos will come with it. So I can definitely walk your PM through that if they have questions about it, but just know that there's a way to export out the data in addition to export out all of the photos, and that's through the export app. Okay? Now, just so you know, when information is updated on a punch list item, like let's say your superintendent comes in and they say, yep, we checked this and we re-inspected it on this date, or your architect signs off on an item. When this document is saved and then uploaded into ProLiance, all that information is being tracked. So all the dates and everything on this resolution tab are all being filled in here. Okay, so your PM could create other views that have like the signed off date or the close date or things like that. Okay, now I jumped over QA/QC, but let me just show you what that looks like in ProLiance. Now it's not as user-friendly as the punch list items are, but at least the information is all coming into ProLiance and it's being saved. So we can always go back and reference that information if we need to. So let's see if we did an example of like this masonry building or masonry QA/QC list. What happens is in the action items tab, this is where all those checklist items are being populated. And then we have this is completed, which means that it's been passed or that item has passed the QA/QC list. Anything that hasn't been passed will just have will be unchecked. There's a completed date. And then there's also any comments that were written on that against that line item will also be here. And then, of course, if any pictures are taken, those attachments will be there for them. Okay? So we don't really have a great way of exporting this or making this look like a really nice report. But for QA/QC, it maybe doesn't really matter that much. We're storing the information. Your superintendents can always update it and view it in Prolog Mobile and in ProLiance. But if there's a need to export it or print it, I'm sure I can come up with a quick CPL that will do that for them. But just note that this is where all the information is being stored, which is where we want it to be stored. Okay? All right, cool. Okay, so we have finished that. So we are done with the punch list piece. So then the last two items we have are plan view drawings and then user setup. So plan view drawings, those are the pinnable drawings that you see here in Prolog Mobile. These are the drawings that your field teams will be using to reference different RFIs or punch list items or QA/QC, anything. They can pin any document that you see here on the left-hand side. They can pin it to show reference or location of where it's taking place. Now, I don't want you to be confused by all of the drawings and submittals that are stored here in the file library. This is every drawing and every submittal that's been accepted or approved. That's what's coming over from Prolog or from ProLiance. The plan view is just supposed to be a few drawings, and those drawings should be like the site plan, your floor plans. So if it's a 5-story building, you would want your 5 floor plans listed here. And some field teams also want like the building elevations and things like that available. And so when these are uploaded then, your field team has the option to toggle between the different floor plans to be able to pin relevant information. Now, don't be confused if somebody says, I want all my civil drawings posted so that I can pin on them. Well, that's not the intent of this tool. You don't need every single civil plan visible. This is just for location, so it should really just be like site plans, floor plans, and things like that. You can just talk to me and I can speak with your field or PM teams about it, because it should really just be a few documents, maybe like 10 or 20 at most. I mean, if you have a 20-story building, you're going to have 20 floor plans listed here, but it shouldn't be like your entire set, because they can get to their set in the file library. But anyway, how do these become available? And so what needs to happen is your PM or field team will say, hey, I want these 6 drawings so that I can pin on them. And then you just go into a separate website that will allow you to do this. So I'll log in here. And now this is going to bring you to a remote desktop. So let me just get connected and and you have to like kind of punch in the password a few times. I think it's 3 times total. So we'll just kind of get in here. I'll close this out. And so remote desktop will open, and then this is just the only time you'll ever need to come in here is just to upload plan view drawings. And again, this is only going to be like a one-time thing for each job that you do that's using Prolog. So if so the first time you upload drawings for a project, you really aren't going to need to go back in and re-upload more drawings because you're going to have basically what you need. So you might do this once, maybe twice, for each one of your jobs. So again, it's not something that you're going to totally remember because you'll just be using it so infrequently. What you do here, though, is you'll go to Mobile, and you'll go to Project Plans. Now within Project Plans, this is just a list of all the projects that have plan view drawings. So if your project is not here, you've never uploaded a plan before, you'll click New Project Plan. You'll pick the Ryan portfolio, which is the only option. You'll pick your project. So of course your project needs to be set up in Prolog Mobile. I'll pick one of these. And then all you do here is you click Load Map File. Now you'll come down here to TS Client. So you're the client. And this brings you right to your job folders. So you can go, if you have that folder on your J drive or on your Y drive in your project folder, then that's just where you would go. So if I go to my C drive, these are all my folders on my C drive, and I would just pick my documents that way. So let me see if I have something here. I don't know if I do. I'll jump back to like the J drive quick. Anyway, this is where you can just pull in those PDFs. Now the one thing you will likely need to change is this image file drop-down will need to be changed from a JPEG to a PDF. And then you'll be able to see all the various PDFs that you have. You can only upload one at a time. And I've already submitted a request to be able to upload multiple. That was a PA recommendation who's been working on this for their projects. So you can only upload one at a time, and you'll click Open. And then what will happen is the sheet name will populate here. So if the sheet is titled A100, floor plan 1, then that's what will populate here in the title. And you can modify it. And then when you're done, you'll just click Save. And you'll do New Project Plan, and you'll add another one. So it's pretty monotonous and very easy. But you'll see here, for my Prolog Mobile test project, these 11 drawings are the same 11 drawings that I have in my on Prolog Mobile if we were to look at it. Now if I want to delete it, I can delete it, and then it will be taken off. But you'll see here what I meant by the title and the file name will be exactly the same. But if you wanted to modify it, you certainly could. Okay? When you're all done, you'll just click File Close. And you will do Reconfigure, Request Reconfiguration. That will push everything from this remote desktop to Prolog Mobile, and then that's it. So I'll click Exit. Now I know I went through that really fast, and the only reason I did is because everything is laid out in the work instructions. And for the few times a year that you might be doing this, it's so easy. So, plan view drawings. It's more important for you just to know what those are. And here are all the steps for how to upload them. And so hopefully these screenshots all look familiar. And so it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay? All right. So then the last thing to do is set up external users. So if you want to, let me just first talk about, hold on one second. Let me just pull up Prolog Mobile again. Okay. Now, as far as users and how they get into the project, if I were to create, let's say, a punch list item, I have a list of companies that are already here pre-populated for me. Now, the reason that they are pre-populated for me is because when you create a vendor or contact, or you export them to your job. It's really the export piece of it. When you export them to this job, and this job is set up with Prolog Mobile, then this information will automatically integrate with Prolog. So we aren't like re-entering all this information or all these vendors or anything like that. So what happens is when you export vendors and contacts to ProLiance in your job, they will be available then for your soup to be able to do their dailies or to assign punch list items and things like that. So that's how that happens. Now, if a soup calls you and says, "Hey, how come this person isn't available in Prolog Mobile?" then what I suggest doing is just simply export that person again from the org level into your project, and they'll be able to, and then they will populate here. This integration takes roughly a half an hour, so just know that. Okay? But what I'm talking about now is how do you get your external contacts set up in Prolog Mobile? And so we do have a few projects already that are setting up their architects and subcontractors and engineers in Prolog Mobile so that when they come to the job site, they always have the ability to pull up on their iPad their information. So let me first just go back to our Prolog Mobile wiki page, because what I have here is information about logins. Now, I am responsible for setting up internal Prolog Mobile access, just like I do for ProLiance. I'm all internal staff. PAs will be all external. So just like you set up all the external people with ProLiance accounts, you will also set them up with Prolog Mobile accounts. So what needs to happen is the contact is created, or it exists in ProLiance, and it gets exported to your project. You'll wait a half an hour, and then that person will become available in Prolog Mobile for you to create their account with. Okay? So if you've already exported this person, then you don't need to like re-export them and wait for that half an hour for that integration to take place. They're likely already in Prolog Mobile. They just haven't had an account set up. So before I get into the actual steps of how to create an account, here are the 3 different documents that you can send to the people that you're setting up accounts for. We have subcontractors. We have like a owner's rep or a city inspector kind of category, and then we have an architect category. And each category has different information. Has access to different content. Okay, and let me show you what that content is. So, the 3 different categories that we have currently are these 3. I have yet to create the commissioning agent one, but the architect will be able to see, and so it lists here what they're able to do in the system. So if you ever have a question about what they, what account or what category they should be given, just note that it's listed here, and you can just ask your PM or your soup what access they need to be given. Now every category will be able to see the drawings and submittals, and then they'll have different access in punch list and RFIs. Okay? All right. So in order to create an account, once the contact has been exported to your job, then you can log in. Again, we're logging in again. Only this time we're going to a different component. We're going to Prolog Manager. And Prolog Manager is also going to open up a remote desktop for you. Okay? So we'll just get this set up. Okay, and we'll just kind of let this log in here. And I'll put these work instructions over on the other screen. And we'll just let this open. Okay. Now, again, the steps are really specific, so hopefully it's you just look at the work instructions and get them set up. But the first thing you'll do is it's always good just to go into the default project. It's here at the top. You don't need to search for your own job, so just pick it. and then you can click OK. Then all of the information is housed under Tools, Security, and Security Manager. Here what we'll see is a list of all of the people on the left-hand side who have accounts. Now you'll see in this default group we have architects, we have staff, and then if we scroll all the way down we would start to have subcontractors. We got a lot of staff in here. Subcontractors, all right? So, and then we have this view all, or this owner's rep sort of a thing. Now I can't emphasize enough the importance of not giving staff access to an external user. If you do it, just like in ProLiance, if you set somebody up with a standard license and you give them like a project manager access, which happens sometimes, they're able to see all of our financial information. And we obviously don't want that. So if you give somebody a staff access and they are an external vendor, they will be able to see all of our contracts and change orders. So I just can't emphasize it enough. Okay, so what you'll do here is you'll click Add User. You're going to first pick the security category that you want to give access to. So it's either architect, commissioning agent, subcontractor punch list, or we had one more, the view all. Okay? Then what you do is you pick your person. So here it's sorting alphabetically by company. So if you know the company name, you can sort that way. If you would rather sort by contact, you can just click on that and it will sort alphabetically by contact. Now all these Ryan people are obviously Ryan internal users, and then all these other ones who have a company that's not Ryan are all our external people. So you're going to click OK. So why don't I just go to like a test user or something like that. Let me try and find one here. Test. Click OK. And then you give them a username. So you just type in like test user or something like that, and you click OK. Now, if you don't see the person you're looking for in this page and you can't select them, that means that the integration did not happen appropriately. And it's very important that the integration from ProLiance works its way into Prolog Mobile so that that contact has that link. It has the same link from ProLiance to Prolog Mobile. So if they're not here in this list, then re-export them to ProLiance, to your project again, or just let me know and I'll look into it. So once you click OK and you give them a username, and the username that we're recommending you give them is the same username that you would give them in ProLiance. It's better, since they have one username and password in ProLiance, to give them the exact same one in Prolog Mobile. So they would be set up as T. Salman or whatever, and this is the screen you'll be brought to after you click OK. You then are going to change their password, and you're just going to enter anything. Enter like password 1 or something like that. I believe in my work instruction I have enter password 1. And you do need to have an uppercase, and you do need to have a number or some kind of character. So we just need to set up a dummy password, and then what you'll do then is you will check Prolog Mobile, you'll uncheck all of these other options, and you'll click Save. Then you'll want to check next to the project that they need access to. Now you can again sort it by project alphabetically. If you want to sort by project number, you can just click on these, and you will come down here and put a check mark next to the projects that they need access to. And when you're done, you'll click Save. And that's it. You'll close this out, and then there's one last step. And so to close it out, you just click Close, and you click Exit, and then Remote Desktop will close. Now, if you need to send up multiple people at a time, you can. You can just keep clicking Add User. So now we're kind of on step 14, or I'm sorry, we're on this the step like 10 through 13. You've entered their username and password, you've given them access to a project, and then you close. The next thing then is to click on this Prolog Sky. And what you're going to do is you're going to log in as them for the first time. And this is a real pain that we have to do this, but I have to do it for all internal users as well. But we need to log in on this website the very first time for our users so that they're able to access Prolog Mobile. It's just like having to accept the license agreement in ProLiance when they have to do that. So what you'll do is you will enter their username and password. Sorry, I'm scrolling all over here. You will enter their username and password, and again, we use that kind of fake password. You will be automatically prompted to enter a new password, and their new password is what their ProLiance password is. So again, we want to give them the same login and password information just so it's easy. You don't have to, but it might just make their lives a little bit easier if everything is the same, and it's only one login and password to remember for both tools. So you're going to enter the old password, re-enter their new password, click sign in, and then you'll get this message that says the password has been changed. And that's it. Then what you can do is you can email them one of those documents. And so let me just go again back to Prolog Mobile. When you send them an email that says, hey, we've given you ProLiance access, if you set up their ProLiance and Prolog Mobile access at the same time, you can also include this login sheet. Now, for right now, because we internally are getting used to Prolog Mobile, I don't foresee you setting up a lot of people with ProLiance and Prolog Mobile access at the exact same time. Maybe you will as your team becomes more comfortable with the tool and they know right away that this person, this architect, is going to need Prolog Mobile access. Then maybe you're doing this all at once. But for some of the existing jobs, you'll need to resend them this Prolog Mobile login information. But we have these login steps specifically for these external users that tell them what their rights are, how to download the app, how to log in for the first time, and how to sync so they can get all that information. And then the rest of this document tells them what they can do in Prolog Mobile. So it is based on category and not so much the different documents they have access to. And it's really because they have really limited access. They can read things, and in one example, they have the ability to edit punch list items. So it's not like ProLiance where they are workflowing or answering RFIs or doing all this stuff. Really, all they're doing is just having access to documents. And so that's why the work instructions aren't really that lengthy, because there's just not a lot that they can do right now. But these are preset for you, so you can just send them out, and then I'll just be adding the number of login sheets based on the number of different categories that we have set up. So if you have a person that doesn't fall within these three categories, just let me know, and I can create new ones so that we have some flexibility when assigning user access. Okay, so I went over a bit. I am done. So I appreciate you holding on for over the hour. Now, again, these are the 5 things that generally the PAs have been helping their teams out with. If you have any questions, you can call me and I can walk you through this. Again, these are all things that you will be doing irregularly. So it's okay if you don't remember how to do all these steps. That's why the instructions are here. But definitely call me if you have any questions. Also, call me if your PMs or SOUPs want projects set up in Prolog Mobile. We are going to have that integration be automatic soon, but it's not ready yet. So I'm still manually creating those jobs for your teams. So anyway, I will unmute all of you, and for those of you who want to stay on and ask questions, feel free to hang on. For those of you who need to run, I appreciate you tuning in to the call. And feel free to call me with any questions. So let me just unmute all of you, and we can just have a Q&A session if there are any questions. All right. Do we have any questions at all?
Nope.
Okay. Great. Thanks, everyone. Again, you can always just reach me if you do once your projects are at a point where they're looking for some of this stuff. So thanks again for joining. Sorry for running over a little late. And
Thanks, Morgan.
enjoy your Friday. Thanks.